Hello and welcome to this networking presentation. My name is Jusu Bokari. Today I'm here to share a knowledge with you guys on how to configure voice over internet protocol, which is voice over IP network in Cisco Packet Tracer. When we talk about voice over IP, it's a technology that allows you to make voice calls using a broadband internet connection. Okay. This type of technology is described by many names. It is also called a converged network. In other words, this network can carry a combination of data and voice. Okay, so today my configuration is going to be around this particular network, which is voice over IP, and I'm going to use a Cisco Packet Tracer for all the configuration here. Okay, we'll talk about Packet Tracer. It's a network tool that is used to analyze networking topologies logically before physical implementation. Okay, so what kind of equipment or devices do I need for this configuration? So I'm going to use 2811 router, 2960 switch, 2 IP phones, and then 2 computers. Okay, the purpose of this configuration is for these individual phones here to be able to communicate to each other. Okay, phone 1 to be able to call phone 2, and phone 2 to be able to call phone 1. Okay, so that's the purpose of this configuration. So I'm going to show you guys step by step how to configure this particular topology using Cisco Packet Tracer. When we talk about voice over IP, how voice over IP works. Voice services convert your voice into a digital signal that travels over the internet. Therefore, if you are calling a regular phone number, the signal is converted to a regular telephone signal before it reaches the internet destination. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a very simple steps, basic steps, how to configure these machines here. Okay, these end devices here. Okay, I'm going to set it up, and you will see phone 1 we call phone 2, phone 2 we call phone 1. Okay, and then also in this network we have advantages and disadvantages. One advantage is voice quality. Okay, the voice quality. When we set up this connection, if in a real life or in a real world, when you make calls over these networks, they have a voice quality. Okay, this is just a form of demonstration using Cisco Packet Tracer. Okay, so one advantage is a voice quality, and then the other advantage is higher scalability. Scalability, for example, today for this configuration I am only using 2 phones, but if you want to add more devices, you can add it to this network. Okay, more IP phones, you can add them, and computers, you can add them. Okay, that is just an example of scalability. So this network is scalable. Okay, you can add and you can also remove. And then on the other hand, the downside of this network is which is a disadvantage, is reliable internet connection. Of course, we need strong internet connection for the devices here to be able to function properly. Okay, so we need that. And then also device need super power source. Of course, they need power in order for them to be able to function properly. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate a lot of things to you guys today on how to configure a voice over internet protocol, which is voice over IP network in Cisco Packet Tracer. When we talk about protocol, we are talking about a set of rules that are set aside to govern a network. Okay, so with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and start the configuration using Cisco Packet Tracer. Okay, so I have my Packet Tracer here. So this is the working area, and down here this is the toolbar. This is where I'm going to get my end devices. Okay, so I'm going to use these devices for this particular configuration. 2811 router, 2960 switch, 2 IP phones, and 2 computers. So down here I'm going to look for my for my router, which is 2811, and then switch 2960, and then 2 IP phones. Okay, 2 IP phones, and then 2 computers. Okay, so now I'm trying to set the topology, to set up the topology. Topology is the map of the network, and this network is voice over IP network. Okay, the purpose of this network is for these phones here to be able to communicate with each other. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate to you guys how this configuration is done. So now I'm going to connect these devices here with a cable. So we need a cable to connect these devices. Okay, so down here, this link here, this is the cable link. So you click on that link, and then I'm going to look for the type of cable that I'm going to use, which is going to be a straight through cable. You click on it, and then you drag it to the device. The first device that I'm going to connect is going to be the PC. So you make sure you click on the fast Ethernet port, and then you drag it to the phone, and then you plug it into the PC port. Okay, and then you repeat the same process on the other PC, to the phone, the PC port, and then now from the phone to the switch. Okay, you click on the phone, and then you drag it to the switch, and then it's going to be port 1. Make sure you plug in into fast Ethernet port 1. Okay, and then you repeat the same process on the second phone. This one is going to be port 2, and now I'm going to connect the interface, okay, from the switch to the router. Okay, and then I choose the cable, port 3, and then to the router. You have to make sure it's fast Ethernet 0/0. Okay, you click in there. So now I have done the cabling. Okay, the next step is going to be these computers here. I'm going to switch them over to DHCP. Okay, so to switch them to DHCP, and then also I'm going to demonstrate to you guys what they call naming and addressing. So I'm going to change the names of the devices, because if you look at the IP phone here, is just IP phone 20, IP phone 21. So I'm going to change it the way it's supposed to. Okay, I'll leave it like this, but I just want to change it. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to click on this computer here, and then you go to desktop, IP config, and then I'm going to switch it because now it's static. I'm not going to use a static IP address. I'm going to use a DHCP. The function of a DHCP, this is a process wherein the network assign IP addresses directly to the individual machines, right, in the network. Okay, so I'm just going to switch these computers over to only the computers. I'm going to switch them over to DHCP so that automatically they will have an IP address. Okay, and then also I'm going to change the name. So you go to config, and then in there you put your blinking console there, you type that 21 out. I'm going to say A, it's going to be computer A, and let's say HR department. Okay, so the reason for naming and addressing is for the technician to be able to troubleshoot. For example, if there is any faulty equipment here or device here, the technician will be able to trace, oh, HR department went down. Okay, customer department is down, phone 1 is down. So that's how you'll be able to trace which device is faulty in a particular network. So naming and addressing is very important. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the same process. Desktop, IP config, switch it to DHCP, config, and then I'm going to say B. Okay, and then I'm going to click out. And then for the phones, like I said earlier, power is very important. Constant electricity for devices and the network is very important. Okay, so I'm going to power these phones. Okay, I'm going to power these phones because if you don't power them, no configuration will be done on them. Okay, the phone will not allow you, in fact, to perform any command lines on them. Okay, you have to power them on first. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. So you have to click on the phone, and then this is the back of the phone. So if I zoom in, this is the back of the phone. So this is the power cord. You grab the power cord and then you connect it. Okay, and then you can zoom out. All right, and now on the config, I'm going to change the name to phone 1. Okay, and then I'm going to click out. So now that phone is powered. Repeat the same process on this other phone. You can zoom out, grab the power cord, you plug it in there, you can zoom it out. Let's change the name to 2. So this is going to be phone 2. So for the switch and the router, I'm just going to change the names. Let me just say B. The switch is going to be B, and the router is going to be A. Okay, so, and then I'm going to click out. Okay, so now I'm going to start the configuration on the router. Okay, and then I will do the rest on the switch. Okay, so to do that, you have to click on the router, and then you go to the command line, and then here put your blinking console there, just type no, and then we're on the privilege or global configuration mode here. So I'm going to start the configuration. So I'm going to apply some command lines here. Okay, so to go into the global configuration mode, you have to enable this interface. So type enable, and then you press enter, and then config T. Okay, config T, and then you press enter. So guys, I'm going to show you a basic steps how to configure voice over IP network. Okay, so now we are in the global configuration mode. So what I'm going to do, the next command line is going to be the interface. So I'm going to configure the interface and the DHCP on the router. Okay, so the command line for that is going to be int space fa 0 /0. Okay, and then you press enter. Okay, and then I'm going to configure the IP address and the subnet mask on this next step. Okay, so the command line for that is going to be IP space address IP address, and then I'm going to assign the IP address, which is going to be 192.168.10.1, and then the subnet mask space 255.255.255.0. okay, 255.255.255.0. okay, that's the subnet mask for that interface, and then you press enter. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to the next command line here is going to be no shutdown. Okay, no shutdown. Okay, and then I'm going to press enter. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to exit from here. When I exit from this point, then my next step is going to be to configure the manager telephony on the router and enable the voice over IP on the network. Okay, so that's going to be my next step. So I'm going to exit from here. Okay, exit, and then now I'm going to configure the DHCP pool voice over IP, and the command line for that is going to be IP DHCP, okay, space pool, and voice over IP. Okay, voice over IP, and then I'm going to press enter. And then now I'm going to configure a network. Okay, just like I said earlier, I'm going to enable the voice over IP on the network. So I'm going to configure that interface as well. And the command line for that is going to be network. It's going to be network. Okay, space the IP address 192.168.10.0. okay, and then space subnet mask 255.255.255.0. okay, and then I'm going to press enter. Okay, now I'm going to configure the default router, and the command line for that is going to be default DEFULT default, and then dash router, okay, space 192.168.10.1. okay, so that is the router, the default router that I've just configured. Okay, and then I'm going to press enter. Okay, what was that? Okay, and then I press enter. And then the next command line is going to be option. Okay, is going to be option. So my option is like this particular network can handle 200 and something devices. So, but I'm just going to use 150 or so because there is an option. If I put option with question mark, it's going to show me. Okay, question mark. Let me just put question mark. So looking here, you will see that I have 254. Okay, DHCP option code. Okay, but I'm just going to use 150. Okay, so it's going to be 150. Okay, and then space IP space, and then I'm going to enter the IP address 192.168.10.1. okay, and then I press enter, and then I'm going to exit from this point, and then I'm going to continue with the configuration on the telephony service. Okay, now I'm going to try to configure the telephony service. So I'm going to exit from this point, exit. Okay, and then now my next command line is going to be telephony service. That means I'm going to configure these IP phones now. Okay, so my next command line is going to be telephony, and then space, no dash. So I'm going to put a dash here, telephony dash service. Okay, telephony dash service, and then press enter. So my next command line is going to be the maximum phone. I'm using only 2 phones here. I'm just going to configure only 2 phones here. Okay, so I'm going to put the maximum ePhone. That is going to be my next command line, maximum ePhones, maximum dash, and the ePhones. Okay, maximum dash ePhones, and it's going to be 5. Okay, space 5. Okay, maximum ePhone 5, so it's going to be 5. So I press enter, and then now my next command line is going to be maximum directory number, so I'm going to put that as well. I'm going to configure the phone directory IP on this IP phone. Okay, so it's going to be max dash dn, okay, and then space 5, okay, and then I press enter. So now that is the directory number 5, and then my next command line is going to be I'm going to configure I'm configuring these two phones here. Okay, so my next command line is going to be I'm going to assign the IP source address. Okay, the IP source address and the port here. Okay, so that command line is going to be IP space source SUCE and dash command address address, and then space. I'm going to assign the IP address 192.168.10.1. okay, and then I'm going to space and the port number port is the port number is going to be 2001. okay, and then I'm going to press enter. Okay, so we have that one already assigned now, and then my next command line, I'm still going to assign some numbers here. Okay, so I'm going to assign some numbers here that is going to work with these two IP phones. Okay, so my next command line is going to be auto assign. Okay, auto assign and then it's going to be 4 to 6. Let me just assign those numbers, those port numbers, okay, which is going to be 4 to 6. Okay, that's going to be the number, and then I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to assign another one from 1 to 5. Okay, so 1 to 5. Okay, and then I'm going to press enter. So from this stage, I'm going to exit here and then continue with the telephony service configuration as well. Okay, so type in exit from this point, and then my next command line is going to be telephony service. Telephony service. I can just change. Let me just change it here. Telephony service. Okay, and then press enter. So now I'm in the telephony configuration mode, which is still I'm working on these phones. I'm still working on the router in order to connect to these phones here. Okay, so now my next command line is going to be ephone. It's going to be ephone. So let me just change this. Ephone. Okay, it's like I don't have that command there. Okay, I'm just going to type ephone because normally I rotate my directional arrows on my keyboard just to choose the word because I have already typed them in, but I'm just going to type that one. So it's going to be ephone, and then dash directory number and then space 1. So now I'm trying to link this IP phone 1, okay, and then I'm going to press enter. So the configuration here that I'm about to do, I'm going to assign phone numbers now to these individual phones because the purpose of this configuration is for phone 1 to be able to call phone 2, phone 2 to be able to call phone 1. So now I'm going to assign phone numbers to this individual's phone. Okay, I'm going to assign phone numbers, okay, so that they'll be able to call each other. So now I'm going to press enter, and then on the bottom here I'm going to assign the number that I want this phone to use to call phone 2. Okay, so now it's going to be the number is going to be the command line for that is going to be number space, and then I'm going to assign the telephone number, which is going to be 2020. That's going to be the telephone number, and then I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to repeat the same process for this second phone. So I'm just going to rotate my arrows here. So I'm just going to backspace that one. I'm just going to put 2 for this phone. So I have already assigned 2020 as a phone number for phone 1. So for phone 2, number space, and the phone number for phone 2 is going to be 2022. So that's the phone number for phone 2. So for now, so I press enter. Okay, I'm going to press enter. Okay, so for now, if you look at the interface of this phone, there is nothing there. Okay, it's blank for now. Only it's saying configuring the VLAN. Okay, but when I finish the configuration, you will see the phone number, the 2020, which is the phone number for phone 1, will appear here. Okay, but for now, because I'm doing the configuration, there is nothing here. Okay, when I finish the configuration, you will see the number will appear right here. Okay, so the next command line from here is going to be ephone 2. Okay, ephone 2, and then I'm going to press ephone 2. I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to enter the number for IP phone 2 right here in this command line. Okay, so it's going to be number space 2022. Okay, 2022, and then I'm going to press enter. Okay, and then I'm going to exit from this command line here. So press exit. Okay, so the configurations are now done on the router. Okay, I have done this configuration on the router, so I'm going to switch over. I'm going to move over to the switch. Okay, I'm going to do the other configuration for this interface to link these other devices together. Okay, so I'm going to do the rest on the switch. So to do that, you have to click on the switch. You go into the command line, and then you press enter. Okay, now we are in the switch configuration mode. So let me enable this interface. Enable, and then config T. Okay, press enter. Okay, so for the switch, what I'm going to configure here, I'm going to configure the interface range, okay, from 1 to 5. So the command line for that is going to be INT, which is for interface, and then space range, RANGE, and then space FA, 0/0. Okay, and then no, we backspace that 0 because I'm going to give a particular interface which is from 1 to 5. Okay, so I'm going to say from 1 to 5. Okay, so you type in int range fa 0/1 to 5. Okay, and then you press enter. Okay, so from here the command line for the range is going to be the switch port. So now I'm going to try to access the switch port on this switch, and which is the access mode, and also the VLAN. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the command line for that is going to be switch switch port, okay, and then space mode MODE, and then access access, which is ACCESS. Okay, access, and then I'm going to press enter. So now we have accessed the switch port mode, which I have just configured. Okay, and then I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to configure the switch port voice VLAN, which is going to be 1 on this switch. Okay, so I'm just going to rotate my arrows on the keyboard to type that one for me automatically, and then the command for this is going to be switch port voice. Of course, we are doing voice over IP. Okay, and then space VLAN, and then space 1. Okay, so now we have configured that particular interface on the switch, and then you press enter. From this point I'm going to exit, and then we are done with the configuration. So looking here, you see this amber light here. When they change to green, that means the configuration went through. Okay, just keep watching, it's going to change. Whenever it changes, that means the configuration went through. So it's trying to verify it. You see, so everything went green. So the configuration so far on how to configure voice over internet protocol, which is voice over IP network in Cisco Pocket Tracer, went through. So to verify our configuration, now if you look at the interface of this phone, you will see. You see, so the number is right there. Okay, the phone number I assigned to phone 1 is right there, 2022. So now I'm going to open phone 2 as well, so that we'll test the connection. Okay, if they can call each other. So let's see. So phone 1, okay, so this is phone 1, this is phone 1, and this is phone 2. So now I'm going to call phone 2 using the phone number that I assigned to them earlier. Okay, so now I'm going to type the phone 2 number here, 20 2020, and then you press enter. So you see it's ringing. Okay, so you find out that it's ringing. If I pick it up, it's going to say connected. All right, so when I pick it up here, it says connected. So now they are connected. So I'm going to put it back, and then I'm going to call phone 1. Phone 2 is going to call phone 1. So let's enter the phone number for phone 1 here. So it's going to be 2022, and then you call. So phone 2 is calling phone 1. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, so if I pick it up, so you're going to say connected. So now they are connected. So this is how you configure voice over internet protocol, which is voice over IP using Cisco Packet Tracer. The purpose for this presentation was for these individual phones here to be able to call each other, which I have just done here. I have demonstrated to you guys here, and now the phones are now working. Okay, this is how you configure voice over IP using Cisco Packet Tracer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any comment, you can leave it below. Thanks for watching.